Welcome to your deep dive. Looks like AI has been on your mind lately, especially with that article, The AI Revolution.
Yeah, it's a fascinating look at where artificial intelligence might be headed.
And not just like robots and stuff, right? This is about
Yeah.
like the big picture of intelligence itself.
Exactly. It really makes you think about the nature of intelligence and what it means for the future.
Okay, so the author starts off with this wild analogy about time travel.
Oh, yeah, the die progress unit idea.
Right, the DPU. Like if you took someone from the 1700s and dropped them into today's world,
hmm
the shock would be so huge they might actually die.
It's a dramatic way to illustrate the point, but it gets you thinking, doesn't it?
Kind of makes you wonder if we're all experiencing a mini DPU right now with how fast technology is changing.
All the time. I mean, think about explaining the internet to, like, your grandparents.
Yeah, good point.
Oh!
But the article takes it even further, right? Says we're on the verge of an even bigger DPU thanks to AI.
And to really understand that, we need to be clear about what we're talking about when we say AI.
Okay, so not just robots taking over the world.
Not in the Hollywood sense, anyway. The article focuses on different levels of machine intelligence.
Got it. So the first level is what they call ANI, artificial narrow intelligence, like our phones, cars, spam filters.
Exactly. Really good at specific tasks, but that's about it.
Impressive, but not exactly like thinking machines yet.
Right. And that's where AGI comes in, artificial general intelligence. Now, that's where things get interesting.
AGI. So that's when a computer is basically as smart as a human.
Across the board, yeah. Learning, reasoning, problem solving, all of it.
Wow. And then, of course, there's the big one, ASI, artificial superintelligence.
The what have we done moment.
So computers that are like way smarter than us in every way.
That's the idea, and it's a pretty mind-blowing concept to grapple with.
No kidding. So how do we even get to AGI in the first place?
It's incredibly complex. Things that seem easy for us, like recognizing a dog or understanding a sentence.
Are super hard for computers. So what's the key to getting there? The article talks about computational power, which seems to be increasing rapidly.
Right, Moore's law and all that. Computers are getting more powerful all the time.
But just having powerful computers isn't enough, right?
Yeah.
We need to make them smart.
Exactly. And the article outlines three main approaches researchers are exploring.
Okay, so like reverse engineering the brain, figuring out how our brains work, and then copying that.
That's one approach, trying to build an airplane by studying birds.
Sounds tough. I mean, we barely understand our own brains.
Exactly. It's incredibly challenging.
And then there's simulating evolution, like speeding up natural selection with computers.
Precisely. It's a fascinating idea, but it's incredibly complex and resource intensive.
And the third approach, the article calls it self-improvement, right?
Yeah.
AI that can write its own code and basically learn how to learn.
That's the idea. It's the most unpredictable of the three approaches, but also potentially the most powerful.
So once we hit AGI, things could really take off, right?
That's where the concept of an intelligence explosion comes in. An AI that can make itself smarter could lead to an exponential growth in intelligence.
And that brings us to a pretty crucial question. What happens when we create something that's potentially thousands or even millions of times smarter than us?
That's the question that keeps a lot of people up at night. And it's one we'll dive into in the next part of our deep dive.
So we've been talking about this idea of artificial superintelligence, ASI, and how it could be way smarter than us. But what does that actually mean, like practically?
Well, the article makes a really simple but powerful point. Intelligence equals power.
Okay, but like real world power, not just like winning Jeopardy.
Exactly. Imagine something that's thousands, maybe millions of times smarter than any human. The potential for control is, well, pretty huge.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So the article gives some examples of what an ASI could actually do.
It does, and it's a pretty wild mix, like curing diseases, solving climate change, maybe even figuring out immortality.
Wow, that's a lot. But there's got to be a downside, right? What if this superintelligence decides humans are, kind of in the way?
That's the big question, and it's one that nobody really has an answer to. We just don't know how an ASI would behave.
It's like that analogy the author uses, comparing us to ants. Like we might try not to step on them, but we don't really care about their ant goals.
Right, an ASI might not be actively malicious, but its goals might just not include us. And with that level of intelligence, well,
Things could get messy. So is there anything we can actually do about it? The article doesn't really offer a solution, does it?
no, not a simple one. But it does stress the importance of thinking about these risks now before it's too late.
Yeah, like that whole control problem idea. How do we make sure this superintelligence, if we create it, actually plays nice.
It's the million-dollar question, maybe the billion-dollar question.
Yeah.
And it's something we need to figure out before ASI arrives.
Okay, so any ideas on how to actually solve this control problem?
The article talks about a few approaches researchers are looking into. One of the biggest is value alignment, trying to, like, program an ASI with human values.
Whoa! Isn't that kind of impossible? How do you even program something as complicated as human values?
It's incredibly difficult, yeah. There's no guarantee it'll work, and even if it does, there's the risk of unintended consequences, like whose values do we even choose? It gets really complicated really fast.
Right. The article also talks about, like, boxing in the ASI, limiting its power so it can't do anything harmful.
It's tempting, but probably not very practical. An ASI, by definition, would be incredibly good at problem solving.
So it'd probably find a way out of any box we could build, huh?
That's the worry. There's no easy answer here. But I think the most important takeaway from the article is that we need to keep asking these questions and keep the conversation going. The more we understand about AI and its potential, the better equipped we'll be to handle whatever comes next.
Honestly, this whole ASI thing has me kind of freaked out. Like, it's amazing to think about what it could do, but also kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it's a lot to process. This article really hits you with the enormity of it all. Like, this could be the biggest thing to ever happen to humanity, you know?
I mean, we're talking curing diseases, immortality, but also, like, maybe the end of the world.
It's a pretty intense mix, for sure. And the author makes this point about, like, a cosmic countdown.
Oh, yeah, like, we don't know exactly when ASI will happen, but we know it's getting closer.
Exactly. And once it hits, there's no going back.
It's like we're standing on the edge of this cliff, and we have no idea what's at the bottom. So what are we supposed to do? The article doesn't exactly give a roadmap, does it?
No, but it does highlight something really important. We need to start talking about this now while we still have time to, maybe steer things in the right direction.
Okay, so where do we even start? Like, what can I do sitting here listening to this?
Well, the author talks about education and awareness. The more people who understand what ASI is and what it could mean.
The better chance we have of making good decisions about it.
Exactly. This isn't just something for scientists and governments to figure out. This is about all of us.
Okay, I get that. But it still feels like a lot of pressure. Like,
Yeah.
shouldn't there be, I don't know, some kind of plan?
There should be, and hopefully there will be. The article talks about like international collaboration on AI research.
Right, so everyone's working together, not just, like, competing with each other.
Exactly. And developing ethical guidelines, maybe even international treaties, kind of like we have for nuclear weapons.
Whoa, that's a pretty serious comparison.
It is serious. The potential consequences of ASI are huge, maybe even bigger than nuclear weapons. So, yeah, we need to be really careful about how we develop this technology.
Wow. This deep dive has been intense. It's exciting and scary all at the same time. We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have, from like what AI even is to what it could mean for the future of humanity.
And the crazy thing is, we don't really know what that future holds.
We don't, but the article ends with a really thought-provoking question. What if the most important thing isn't what will ASI do, but what do we want it to do?
Yeah, that's a good one. And maybe that's something for all of us to think about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us, and good luck out there.